Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning. Welcome to a Wednesday edition of the program, Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning, from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I got a good show lined up today. Got JC as normal. Then we're going to be joined by one of my former teammates, George Rushing, former tight end, who has a kid who is a freshman from Arizona, defensive back. And then his son is one of the top, I want to say he's the number one rated defensive end in America. That has like 35 Division I offers out from Tempe, Arizona. So we'll see. We'll see what he has to say, talk about the recruiting process going on, why his younger son, who's a freshman on campus, just got here, chose the Gators over Oregon. And we'll see what his older son, defensive end in America, where he's leaning. So we shall see. But let's go ahead. There ain't a whole lot going on in the sports world, folks. Let's head to the Titan MR hotline. And we're joined by, is that Whitey Herzog with his St. Louis Cardinals hat on?
Tony La Russa is here. Yeah, Whitey Herzog, great manager for the Cardinals. I like the Cardinals, man. They get 30,000 fans in their building every night. They have a home game. I like Paul Goldschmidt. They're one of my National League teams. I have to say that, QB. But QB, you know, I was reading last night, as I typically do, of what's going on here during the offseason in college football. And finally, we get a story about change in college football that is not going to be 6 years away or 3 years away or 5 years away. And that would be the Atlantic Coast Conference changing its scheduling format for the 2023 season. Are you aware of this, QB?
I am. They have three. It's what a lot of conferences are doing now. I want to say there's only a handful of conferences that have a division in them now. Majority of them are now gone to, you know, like the Pac-12. There is no division. There is none in the Big 12. I guess there still is in the Big 10 and the 8. Is the ACC doing? They're doing away with that, right?
Yeah. So the Atlantic.
And you got three permanent people you play every year.
It's a 3-5-5 structure. Each team's going to play its primary opponents annually and then playing the remaining 10 teams in the conference twice every 4 years, which would allow for one on the road and one at home. Gee, what a concept. It's amazing. And now you're going to have the two best teams playing in the ACC conference championship game, which, as we all know, has been just an abject failure of an attraction at the end of the year because of the dominance of one division and the dominance of one team in that one division. Did you know, QB, and I don't know if you knew this, but the Coastal Division in the Atlantic Coast Conference, which I could not tell you the 7 teams, but at one point, QB, 7 different teams won that division over 7 years. So the parity and the balance of that division was unlike any other division, whereas over on the Atlantic side, it's always been Clemson. And we also need to know that the University of Miami has not won the ACC since joining it. And it is just, you know, so they're trying to restructure the scheduling, and they are. And the great news is that for ACC fans and Florida State fans and Miami fans is that this is going to happen in 2023. So we don't have to wait 3 years for anything to happen. This is going to happen next season, and it's going to give you 3 permanent opponents and rotate the other 10. So for Miami, the permanent opponents would be Louisville, BC, and Florida State. But for Florida State, the permanent opponents would be Miami, Clemson, and Syracuse. So I think that's how it's got to be now in the SEC. I want that to happen in the Southeastern Conference. There is absolutely no reason why we should still do East and West, in my opinion. The West has been clearly dominant and superior to the East. And I certainly think that there is no reason to have Missouri in the East and Auburn in the West. And I think we need to get the same structure for the Southeastern Conference. And I don't think there's a really big chance that won't happen. I think there's a big chance that actually will happen because there is precedent that the Southeastern Conference follows what the ACC has done in the past, and I bring up COVID to being the first example. When COVID came out, the ACC was the first conference that said, we're going to play, we're going to do an all-conference schedule. Literally the next day, the SEC did the same thing. So maybe this will motivate some folks in Birmingham to actually think about something important and get the SEC on a schedule such as this.
Well, having said all that, I guess what you're going to have to do is figure out who those 3 permanent opponents for each team in the SEC would be. Who for the Gators would you think it would be?
Auburn, Georgia. I think it should be Georgia, Tennessee, and either Auburn or LSU, one of the two.
Yeah, I agree with that. What about Alabama? Auburn, Tennessee, and who?
Alabama would be Tennessee, Auburn, and LSU, or maybe not LSU, maybe Mississippi State, or maybe somebody like that. Arkansas. Whatever it is, you're still going to play everybody else. Once
it's got to be LSU. Alabama's got to be Auburn, Tennessee, and LSU. It has to be.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, I'm all for it. I don't really care. I have no problem with them doing away with divisions.
Right. Why are we playing Auburn, man? Why doesn't Texas A&M come to Gainesville, man? I mean, why is Missouri playing in the East, man? I mean, come on, man. Come on, man.
Who are you supposed to be saying, come on, man?
Isn't that your president? Come on, man.
Oh, I don't know. I don't follow any of that stuff.
I know you don't.
Yeah, so, anyway,
look,
good for the ACC. They finally did something right, I guess.
Well, look, do something. Make it better. And I think the conference had to. That championship game in that conference was almost as bad as the Pac-12 championship game. It is brutally stale. It's an F. And the thing is that the divisions, first of all, nobody knows who's in the Coastal, who's in the Atlantic, really, unless you really follow that conference. And secondly, it's been a one-team conference for way too long. It's been way too long. And certainly there are other programs in the ACC that could challenge Clemson. And I think this year you're going to see NC State be that team. But, for somebody in the ACC, for a conference to have a division, the two divisions so badly disproportionate, kind of like in the SEC, honestly. I mean, the East has not been keeping up at all. So now last year the East won the championship, certainly, but you know what I mean. I mean, come on, we've been following this for 15 years now. I would like to see something different.
We got a text on the Titan Mark text on Daryl. It says, "Good morning, guys. Florida's permanent opponent should be Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina."
Well, I mean, I see that, but man, Florida LSU games. We all know about Florida LSU games. I mean, I can see that happening too, because LSU is going to have a lot of permanent opponents, or going to want to have a lot of permanent opponents, it seems like. But I can see that. But LSU and Florida has always been a great game. I mean, there's been controversy. There's been weather-related issues. There's been, just a really good rivalry with shoes being thrown and things like this. I mean, it's a great rivalry, Florida and LSU.
Yeah, I agree with that. We got a Facebook Live here, and Charlie asked, why can't Texas and Oklahoma just come into the SEC already? It's a contract issue, right?
It's a television contract issue that if they were to leave the Big 12, they would owe for their media rights the remaining years on the current deal. And that is in the tens of millions and millions of dollars. Now, as each year passes, that sum of money decreases. But we all know that the University of Texas, and I'm not sure about Oklahoma, but the University of Texas could likely write a check. But it still would be upwards of $50, $60, $70 million currently. And that's just something they're not interested in doing coming off COVID or really at all. And I think, though, that if they were pushed to do it, they could somehow find a way to do it. Banks are open. But I think the SEC is yet to really tell them, okay, we're ready for you. Come on. We're not even figuring out a 9-game schedule yet in this conference. But there's zero chance, I think, we see this happening before 2025, although maybe in 2024 or whatever. But it's still a long way off. And, it's what everybody talks about, but nothing is different. So
Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking with JC on the Titan More Hotline, we'll be joined at 8:30 by George Rushing, former Gator tight end back in my day, who has a kid that is a freshman that chose the Gators over Oregon. And then his oldest son is a 23 kid who's one of the highest rated defensive linemen in America. And we shall see what he talks about from a recruiting standpoint, where they may end up. Okay, switching gears real quick. Well, let me read what Dan says. These schools allegedly give one kid that much money. Why can't they just get it done and leave the Big 12? I agree, Dan. The hell with paying but quit buying your players that you're going to go 6-6 again for the Longhorns. And just join the conference.
The schools are not paying the players. Let's make that clear.
That's true.
And secondly, I don't know. I mean, we're talking about the tens of millions of dollars for these media rights. And right now, the Big 12 owns them. They own the media rights of these schools until these schools buy them out.
It's going to be funny when OU wins the Big 12 again, and they're really not in the Big 12.
Well, Oklahoma State won it last year. So,
well, I'm saying they're probably going to win it. I don't know who's going to win it, but I just think it's funny. What if OU and Texas play in the Big 12 championship game?
Yeah,
they should go put SEC banners all around the arena.
But there is something. But the Big 12 is expanding, and it's going to happen next year, I believe, to be the case when these AAC teams, which obviously don't have as much a financial commitment to that conference, are going to join that Big 12 conference, which would actually make it 14 teams from 10. BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF. They are coming over, and they are buying out, or something's happening to allow them to leave the current conference they're in this year and that they have been in for the past 5, 10, whatever years. And now they are going to be Big 12 teams, but their financial commitment is much less or much lower than what Oklahoma and Texas have by having signed over their rights to the conference until 2025. And so they got to buy that out. But again, I don't think it's that. I just have this feeling in my mind that the SEC is not ready for it because the SEC can't even figure out a damn 9-game schedule for its current 14 teams. So you're going to add 2 more teams and just confuse it and muck it up even more. They don't even know what divisions they've got. Missouri in the East rather. Okay, so that's how confusing and dysfunctional some of this is. And yet they go and spend all this time in, what is it, Destin? And all they want to talk about is Jimbo Fisher's love affair with Nick Saban. Who the hell cares? Can we talk about something that matters? So I don't know. Hey, whatever. You can spend your time in Destin. You can sit around on the beach and get drunk. It's fine with me. But at least do something and talk about scheduling. Talk about expansion. Get on with it. But we can't because they're not coming and the SEC is not ready for them. And that's what I believe. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but nothing's changing. And I'm right about that. And I was also right that probably nothing will change till 2025. Please prove me wrong, somebody, and get Oklahoma and Texas over here before.
I'm sure they're worried about proving you wrong at the league.
Well, I know, but it's just not me. It's just about everybody else like me. And there's a lot of me's out there. And the thing is that I'm going to be damn near 60 years old when this happens. And you're going to be 55 or 54. So the thing is that's a long time off, QB. I know you don't care. Well, hell, let's play 8 games then and just have another Georgia-Alabama game.
Hey, look, again.
Why don't we just do that? Why don't we just have Georgia and Alabama play again? Why don't we do that?
That's we will. 20 times. They are going to play again this year.
Oh, fun. Great. Well, you know what?
It wouldn't matter if they were all in the same league or in separate leagues. They're going to play each other in Atlanta, okay?
I know.
So quit losing sleep over it. John says on Facebook Live, QB Deshaun Watson could be facing a season-long suspension. If that happens, there will be 2 full seasons of football that he's missed. How good can Cleveland expect him to be after missing that much time? I've not followed it. Wasn't his trial yesterday?
Well, I don't know about the trial. I do know he had 24 cases that have now 20 have been settled. That leaves 4 still. Here's the biggest issue with Deshaun Watson, and then I'll give you the worst case scenario for the stupid Browns. The biggest issue for Deshaun Watson, yes, I do believe you're right about that. 2.5, 3 years of not playing could make you a little rough around the edges. But Deshaun Watson, even though he's got a guaranteed contract, is going to likely be suspended from the league for at least another year for personal conduct. And so that is where Deshaun Watson's problem lies. It's going to be the fact that he can't play. Cleveland's problem is that they gave up three first-round draft picks for a guy that won't be able to play for at least a year. They gave up $230 million guaranteed. And on top of that, you got Myles Garrett and Nick Chubb in their prime being wasted on a mediocrity because right now Jacoby Brissett is going to be your quarterback in Cleveland. And so right now Cleveland's going to be looking at Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Pittsburgh. Baltimore and Cincinnati are clearly better than Cleveland right now because Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback. Unless you think Jacoby Brissett can win that division with Nick Chubb, who's often hurt, Myles Garrett, who's pretty damn good.
You just said they were in their prime.
They are in their prime. But are they?
Jacoby's a solid guy, man. He'll do a good job for them because all they're going to do is run the football anyway and play action pass.
Well, that's all they did last year. But look, that's all they did last year, and they didn't win anything. And you got Cincinnati.
Baker was throwing it to the other team. That's why.
True. That's a good point. But you got Cincinnati and you've got Baltimore in that division. Look, I just think Cleveland's in a mess. They've given up 3 first-rounders, and they've paid this guy that's not going to play over a $200 million contract. I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. Absolutely fired for basically mortgaging the team's future. And right now, you've got great players. They got Amari Cooper for free. Okay, they got a lot of really good offensive linemen. But as each year goes by, you know this QB players, the lifespan is not long in that league. So I'd hate to be a Browns fan right now, knowing that I threw away so much on a guy that literally, and this is the minimum is going to be 1 year. I bet you it could be 2, maybe. They can do whatever they want to the guy, but it'll be 1 at least. I'm pretty sure it'll be 1 year. And that's coming off another year that he didn't play. So how good is he going to really be? I don't know.
Yeah. Back to scheduling. Charlie says, adding 2 more teams, the conference just shifted 14 pods and play the 3 other teams in their pod plus 2 from the other pods on a rotating basis. That makes 9 conference games, and JC can relax into his 60. Charlie, they've already said they're not doing pods. That's one thing that did come out of the Destin meetings, that the pods have been crushed. No pods.
Yeah. Thank you, Charlie, for reminding me. I did say how old I am, but listen, they can do away with these divisions. I know there are some, purists out there that love the SEC divisions, but they're not balanced. And we need the 2 best teams to play. We've had it with Alabama and Georgia, but I just want to see more teams coming in the swamp, I don't need Vanderbilt anymore. I really wish Vanderbilt was not in the conference, frankly. But I'd love to see Texas A&M get in here, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I'd love to see Ole Miss come to town. How would you like? Wouldn't you like to see Lane Kiffin come to the swamp? That would bring interest. And that's just the thing we're not getting right now with an 8-game schedule. And this league wants to go to Destin, and they all want to sit around and drink. And they don't want to talk about they say they talk about it, but I don't see anything changing.
Yeah, Joseph said Chase Daniel is set to make over $41 million in his career earnings, and he's only played in like 6 games in his whole career. That blew his mind. Yeah, the backup money these days is ridiculous.
Well, you can speak to that, QB.
Yeah. Well, the money was not like that when I played.
That's true.
Like the backups made minimum salary, which was still good money. Nowadays, the backups made crazy money. Dan says he'd love the opportunity to go to Oxford more than once every 20 years. Yeah, and it's a shame because the Gators were on the schedule against Ole Miss, but it was during COVID, so nobody could go. So.
Well, yeah, it is a shame. COVID was a shame, but the scheduling is a shame. 8 games. There are some teams you don't see for 6 years on that rotation. That is unacceptable. Auburn being in the West and Missouri being in the East doesn't make sense to me. So, I mean, you just don't have the matchups you need to keep people excited. I don't care that Alabama scheduled Tennessee State in 2029. I don't want to talk about that. Nobody does. So I wish we would. Well, you know what I wish. I've said it enough.
Yeah. All right, JC, let's get to our Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte, surrounding areas. Visit them at Peachland Dental We're going to have our golf picks. All right, we're going to pick the winners of the Live golf event. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Hey, I saw a tweet go out. It came up on my Twitter feed, and I don't know if this guy was joking, but what is today? Wednesday? I guess it was either Sunday night or Monday. It was talking about, their event is in Portland this weekend.
Yeah.
And it was like Live Golf Portland event is looking for volunteers to help with it. It was like they couldn't get anybody to come out there and help with it.
Well, first of all, why is anything in Portland? For God's sakes, what an awful place that is. I mean, why? But,
well, I guess there's a good golf course out there. That's the only thing.
There's a lot of good golf courses.
I did see a press conference yesterday with Pat Perez, Brooks, and Patrick Reed. And they're talking about how they play loud. They play all this music while guys are on the driving range. Pat Perez, his interview was awesome. You got to read it. I mean, listen to it. He basically said, look, I forgot how old he is. He goes, I'm on the week. I've played. He said in like the last, I don't know how many years. He said, like, I've been playing like 250 straight events. He goes, I missed the birth of one of my kids because I was on tour at the tour championship. I couldn't leave because of my tour card was in jeopardy. And he goes, basically, I hit the lottery. I'll be able to spend time with my family, and I took it for the money. That's what he said. Good for him.
At least he's being honest about that.
Well, he is. I mean, it's perfect for guys like him.
Yeah, it is. But that's not what I want to watch, QB. I don't want to watch the minor leagues, okay? I'm not interested in –
No, I'm not going to watch it either.
I'm not interested in AAA baseball. A lot of folks are, but that doesn't carry the viewer. I'm sorry.
I'm surprised you aren't more into AAA baseball as much as you like dumb hats, because they have the coolest nicknames in AAA baseball.
No, you're right about that, but it's awfully hard to keep up with, and they don't get paid. All right,
JC. Let's get our picks because my man George Rushing is tuning in out from Tucson, Arizona.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
We're at the John Deere Classic, which they're going to shoot 32 under par probably.
Wow. Well, doesn't Zach Johnson win this every year? So
I had him written down too, so you won't know.
All right, man. This lineup here is looking real. This is just pie in the sky. Just pick. I'm gonna take Vaughn Taylor. Vaughn Taylor, baby. He's been in the top 10 a couple times.
Vaughn Taylor. I'm taking Sahith Thagala.
Yeah, I love that dude, man. That's a good pick there. I love that pick. All right. I mean, I don't know. This is just a throw around. Let me go with Harry Higgs. Harry Higgs.
I love big Harry Higgs.
Crowd favorite Harry Higgs.
I'm going to take my man Webb Simpson with Paul Tesori, the Gator, on his bag.
Nice. Okay, and I'm going to end it up with it's either Snedeker or Day. I'm going to go with Jason Day.
All right, Jason Day for you. I was going to take Zach Johnson because he does win it like every year. But I'm going to take Charlie Hoffman.
Yeah, he's another one of those that loves these tournaments. Yeah, the Barbasol, the John Deere, tournaments like this.
Joseph says, QB, I know you mentioned it yesterday, but are you going to be doing the WWW this year? I don't know what that means. I have no idea. JC, just so everybody knows, I think I mentioned to you, this is our last Wednesday until August the 17th.
Oh.
Since there's nothing to talk about, we're cutting out Wednesdays, and our great production crew is going to have a best of all the Gator quarterback, like clips from their shows, the best of FSU or Heisman Trophy shows, but ain't much to talk about this time of the year.
So we're going to go Mondays and Fridays. And I've always said after the College World Series and before the British Open is usually when my sports year ends, before football. I mean, it's been a long year, right? So that's how it goes for me.
Yeah, so I'll be doing a show Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. JC will be on Mondays and Fridays until August the 17th, and then we'll crank back up
for football.
When, it'll be exciting for when college football is cranking up.
All right,
so.
Very good.
All right, JC, appreciate it. Have a good day. We'll talk to you on Friday.
You got it, guys. See ya. Thanks.
That's JC. Join us on the Titan More Hotline. Going to take a timeout. Come back. We'll be joined by former Gator tight end George Rushing. You're watching and listening to Pod Up Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics. Live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shops, Dave & Buster's, Regal Cinemas, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Medici's, and the HBC's restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, where every Saturday and Sunday from 11 to 2:30, you can get the hottest brunch in town. We'll see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. We're going to head to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be heading out to Tucson, Arizona, where it is 5:26 in the morning. And my old teammate, Big George Rushing, old number 80 at the tight end position. Good morning, George. Appreciate you getting up, man. We could have taped this, but you must be an early riser.
I am.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time. I wanted to bring you on. First of all, let's talk about your career first. You were a tight end for the Gators back in the HBC's days. You're from down in Miami. Who was the main guy that recruited you down there?
Red Anderson.
Oh, boy. Oh, yeah. Coach
Remember, Red took care of all the Miami guys.
That's true. That is very true.
He connected me with Aubrey, and Aubrey was my roommate.
Speaking of Aubrey Hill, the great late Aubrey Hill, who did so many great things. I didn't realize y'all were roommates. Who else was in your signing class?
Terry Dean, Kedra Malone, Greg Jingaleski, Eric.
So you can't remember.
Yeah, I know. Pete Archie, Kevin Freeman, Swain. What did I say? Terry Dean?
Yeah, you said Terry Dean. Yeah.
Right, I know I'm gonna forget my freshman brothers, and they're gonna kill me. All right.
Oh, that's all right. That's enough right there. I just couldn't remember. Andy asked here on Facebook.
Aubrey.
Yeah, Aubrey. Aubrey, one of my favorites of all time. Best teammate. Just a sad situation there. Big Andy says, George, why didn't Shane throw to the tight ends more?
He did. You know what was crazy is Shane threw to the tight ends a lot, but what happened is as the passing game started to grow, he replaced the tight ends with guys like Willie Jackson and
exactly.
Yeah,
that is a great point.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. Or Coach Spurrier would say, okay, this team's going to blitz a lot. We're going to keep the tight end in, and there's going to be an actual tight end to help with protection.
Right. Right.
George, I don't know why I thought this. Did you move to defensive end
your
senior year?
Not my senior year, but I moved to defensive end one spring.
Okay.
And to Coach Spurrier said, hey, he's been grinding, behind Keller and Kirkpatrick, and give him an opportunity to hit the field. And something happened where they didn't have, I was one of the last of the blocking tight ends, me and Charlie. Greg Keller was more like Kirkpatrick. He could block, but he was more like a finesse, catching tight end. And Coach Spurrier brought me back over for the blocking support.
I just realized you were Coach Spurrier's first recruiting class.
First recruiting class, yes.
Yes. And real quick, we'll get to that in just a second, but I want to let everybody know what Big George Rushing is doing out in Tucson, Arizona these days.
I'm an executive director for Catholic Community Services. within the Catholic diocese, where we do nonprofit work for seniors, children, and families. We have affordable housing. We have senior housing. We have childcare. We have tax support services. We have a myriad of services to help low income families.
That's awesome. All right, so I wanted to get back to obviously you have a son who is just enrolled at the University of Florida,
yes.
Cruise Rushing, who's a
yes.
safety.
Yes.
You went through the recruiting process with him. I had
yes.
read where people thought he was going to go to Oregon, I think. He
yes.
ended up becoming a Gator. Your youngest son, Elijah, is one of the top defensive linemen in America.
yes.
Has multiple Division I offers. I know you've been on campus lately, but I want to get to, you were being recruited by a brand new staff when
yes.
Steve Spurrier took over the program. And obviously, I don't know what Coach Spurrier sold you on because Florida hadn't had much success. And obviously, Red Anderson with his ties to Miami helped. But what was it like for Billy Napier and his staff being their first year selling this program that struggled the last year or so to the Rushing family?
His success in Louisiana, and he was at Arizona State prior
right.
to that. And so, he has a track record for being able to turn things around. And, it's Florida. It was an opportunity that we couldn't miss. We couldn't pass up.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, Florida has a lot to offer. I've been preaching, George, for the last 15 years. I've done multiple radio shows because when my son was coming out of high school, we went to all the schools in the Southeastern Conference and the ACC for their one-day camps.
Right.
Because I knew coaches there, and I wanted to see the facilities. I'm big on seeing campuses and things of that nature.
Right.
And I was blown away about how bad ours was. And it was bad when we played here, but nobody had any other facilities. It is what it is.
Right.
But finally, now Florida is having their standalone football facility.
Right.
Don't you think having kids that have gone through this recruiting process, being a former player yourself, that is something that Florida has been missing?
That is something Florida has been missing, and I think it's why they've missed the boat, on a couple kids. But I think Napier has a vision and a plan of putting things together, and so. From what I've seen, I'm confident that this staff is going to, not to disparage anyone previous, but that this staff is going to, turn things around.
Yeah, I've met Billy. I mean, I've talked to Billy multiple times. He's one of the most down-to-earth football coaches I've ever been around in my life. He gets it. It's just going to take time. It will not happen overnight, but they're going to be getting good players, and obviously they've gotten one of your sons here. And then, in the past, we weren't even able to get big time recruits like your youngest son to even get to campus. And obviously your Gator ties help. But talk to us a little bit about Elijah right now. When does he plan? Or do y'all have like a date set when he's going to try to make a decision?
Yeah. So at the conclusion of the season, we're going to do a top 10. And then by spring, we'll have a top 5 and be setting up our official visits.
And you get 5 official visits still, correct?
Right.
Okay.
And so we will have committed before the start of his senior season.
Oh, you will be committed?
Correct.
Okay. How important is it, your boys played together in high school, probably played Pop Warner or Little League together. Is it something that they're hoping to possibly be able to continue playing their college ball together?
Nostalgically for me, it's something that I want to happen, but I want Elijah to be able to make his own choice. And, given all the facts, he's very high on Florida. But again, I don't want it to be, well, Dad said, I want it to be, well, this is what I want to, do for the next 4 years.
Yeah, no doubt, George, because, my dad played football at Ole Miss. My mom was a cheerleader at Ole Miss. They let me make my own decision. And you're doing that the right way, because last thing you want him to do is wherever you tell him he needs to go, he regrets it. Marshall says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, hasn't that been addressed, or is UF still missing? So, no, it's been addressed, Marshall. It's just we haven't moved in yet, and they've been trying to sell pictures of a facility, which high school kids can't. They don't really care about seeing a drawing of a facility. They need to walk into that facility, and now the Gators have it. Let's see.
It's coming along good too. I've seen it recently. So
yeah, there's no question. It is outstanding. We got a text here on the Titan MR text line. George, is Elijah slated to play defensive end at the collegiate level?
He can play DN, outside backer. He's flexible in that area. Right now,
Okay.
he's 6'5", 233. And so by the time he's a senior, he's going to be somewhere around the 250, 260 range.
No doubt. Another text on the Titan MR text line from Larry. Larry says, George, loved you being a Gator. Can you tell us what it's like as a parent of a kid who's being highly recruited with all this NIL stuff?
You know, we really haven't experienced any NIL stuff. He's a sophomore going into his junior year. So that hasn't hit us yet, but I'm sure that it's going to be crazy once, everything really heats up.
Yeah, I forgot. For some reason, I thought he was a rising senior. He's only a rising junior.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's got I can't imagine being that highly recruited, just having finished your sophomore year.
Right.
I mean, that's a lot of pressure on a kid.
Right.
Dan has a question here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law. Do you have a favorite Florida Georgia memory?
Florida Georgia memory.
Well, they never beat you, right?
Never. And all those memories were great, except the time when we played in the cold and we had to have those heat warmers on the sideline. But outside of that, everything was great with that.
Yeah, that was one of the coldest games I ever played in. I think that was my junior year, maybe. No, so if you played in, it would have been in 90, which would have been it was either my sophomore or junior year.
I think remember. It was your junior year. But listen,
Yeah.
Let me give you a plug. I tell I've coached and done a number of things. And I tell players that you threw the softest catchable ball in recorded history.
Well, you didn't play with Danny. Did you have any years with Danny?
No. Danny was a freshman as I was going.
Yes. Yeah. So, yeah, that was one thing that I will agree there. I threw a very catchable ball, which, George, if I was coming out of high school now, because when I signed my scholarship, I was 6'2", 165.
Uh-huh.
The most I ever weighed my senior year when I went to the combine was 180. I don't have a great arm, but I was accurate and threw a catchable ball. Nobody would even recruit me these days because all they care about is how hard a damn guy can throw a football.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it drives me insane. So let's see here real quick. There was a Facebook Live one. Oh, here it is. Andy asked on Facebook Live, and Andy's up in the Chicago area. He says, George, looking ahead several years, what are the chances your daughter, Michelle, runs track and field in Florida? You got a girl that can run?
Yes, I got a little track star. I have an older daughter that ran at Florida, that ran hurdles.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So what is the younger girl? She just does it all, or does she have one event that she's really good at?
She runs hurdles in the 1 and 2.
Okay. Well, I had no idea your other daughter ran track for Mouse.
Yeah.
Obviously, if she ran track for Mouse Holloway, she's pretty damn good because, boy, that's a good program.
Mouse is one of the greatest.
And so how old is your daughter, Michelle?
Michelle's 11.
Oh, goodness. So that's what, like 5th grade?
Yeah.
Okay. So we got some time there. Boy, you had some good genes running through these kids for sure. All right. So, George, do you help coach your boys with the high school that they go to?
I'm the director of football operations for them. I'm not coaching.
You're Jamie Spironis?
I know, right? I help out with the head coach with all the admin stuff to, help support them because it's a private school. They have some resources, but not a ton. And this is his going on his 3rd year now. And so I stepped in his first year when he came on.
Very cool. Another text on the Titan MR text line from Joe. He says, George, having kids played out in Arizona and you playing high school ball down in the Miami area, what's the difference?
I would say the difference is we start earlier in Florida. The intensity for me of getting out of an area like South Florida, is probably different. Here, the competition is pretty good. Once you start mixing in the Phoenix teams, you have to travel further to get the same competition, in my opinion.
Well, there's got to be more speed down in Miami, right?
Well, absolutely. South Florida is hard to compare, period. But the difference, though, is, and again, this is not a slight to South Florida, but there's not always great coaching. There's always a ton of great athletes, not always great coaching.
Yeah, that is so true. John asked on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mel Up. Hey, George, what's your favorite moment in the Swamp?
Favorite moment? When we beat LSU one year and Ephesians Bartley knocked out some receiver, slid over top of him.
Yeah, anytime you beat LSU, it's a good thing. You got I usually ask all the former players this, and I don't mean to put you on the spot because I probably should have gave you a warning. You got a good Coach Spurrier story, one of your favorites, or anything he ever said to George Rushing that, he wasn't afraid to say whatever was on his mind.
He said quite a few things, but you were asking about recruiting. And so during the recruiting visit, he said, George, listen, you got a couple choices. You can either come to the Gators or you can go somewhere and get beat for 4 years. You make the choice.
That's him. That's what's crazy is like with all the, I call it nonsense going on in recruiting these days. I mean, it's crazy, and you're living it, even though your kid's got basically 2 more years of high school ball. But Coach Spurrier was never one of those guys that would come sit in your living room and kiss your butt, so to speak. He's basically going to tell it how it is. You either come play for us or we're going to beat you. And my favorite story is the one when because as you know, George, you were always assigned a guy to help on a visit.
Right.
And one of my favorite stories is, I think it was my senior year. I didn't really have anybody. So I was down in the locker room just roaming. And Bates was hosting because Bates was, I think, a true freshman, just finished his true freshman year.
Right.
And he was hosting, I think it's Devin Bush, a linebacker, who was a really good college player. And I remember they had the jersey hanging, and it said Bush, number 44. And the parents were there taking pictures because that's about all you got back in those days was just a jersey hanging with your name.
Right.
And I remember standing there, and Coach Spurrier, and Bates tells the story way better than I do. Batesy, don't you wear number 44? And he said, yes, sir, Coach. And he looked at Devin Bush and he goes, well, Devin, if you're going to be a Gator, you got to find another number. Who the hell says that to a recruit? And he ended up going to Florida State and wearing 44.
Oh, yeah. Listen, Coach Spurrier was known for telling the truth.
Yeah, there's no question about that. George, before we let you go, obviously playing tight end, you play for John Reeves, who was a great player at Florida, good person. Mm-hmm. And obviously we lost Coach Reeves, 5, 6, 7 years ago. Right. Just talk about, because usually your position coach really is like a father figure to you while you're at the collegiate level. Just talk a little bit about John Reeves.
John Reeves was, a genuinely good man. He really supported us, as a group. Tight ends, he made every effort to make sure we had pride in being what he would call the big Ys. And we even have Y hats made. But one of the things I appreciated about not just Coach Reeves but Coach Spurrier, things were fair. Meaning every practice was graded. You took a test before every game, and the numbers either bared you out or they didn't. They didn't care whether you were a freshman or a senior. Best man hit the field. And so my experience at Florida playing for Coach Reeves and Coach Spurrier was amazing.
Yeah. All right. Before we let you go here and you can go back to bed, we got a text on the Titan Tomorrow hotline or text line from Jonathan. He says, George, what coaches from Billy Napier's staff recruits the Arizona area? Or is it Coach Napier, basically?
Coach Napier, basically. How we even got contacted was interesting because it was really on an alumni reconnection with Coach Assure, Coach Ash. And he reached out to me, and I told him about the boys. They looked into them, and then the process started because I doubt Tucson, Arizona was a location or a hotbed that they were looking. And so then we, quickly got in contact with the rest of the coaching staff, and everything took off from there.
It's interesting you bring that up right now because several months ago, Mike Peterson, who's our linebacker coach, former Gator great, he texts me going, "Wasn't George Rushing one of your teammates?" And I text back and I said, "Yes, he was. Great guy." And I never heard back from him.
Yeah.
So that's probably had part of the conversation going on right there.
Yes. So he's been the one recruiting Elijah.
Mike Peterson?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Mike Pete's a good dude, man. He that's a guy who did it at a high level in the National Football League and has a great relationship with his players. Well, let's see. We're going to let you go, George, because we appreciate your time. We're glad to have Cruz Rushing as a Gator. Good luck to Elijah. Like I said, I didn't realize he had 2 more years of high school left.
Yes.
So he's going to be dominating folks for sure. And we will definitely be following his career and wish him a lot of luck wherever he decides to go. But we'll keep our fingers crossed that he may be a Gator. But George, appreciate you taking the time, buddy. When you're in Gainesville, make sure you hit me up and we'll go over to Coach. Have you been to Coach Spurrier's restaurant?
I have, yes.
I figured you did with the recruits.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be more than happy to go over there with you.
All right. That's George Rushing. Appreciate it, buddy. Go back to bed.
All right.
All right. That's George Rushing. Join us on the Titan Number Hotline. Man got up to get on the program 3 hours early out in the Arizona. It's 3 hours. It's 5:47 there right now. We're going to take a timeout, come back, wrap up this program.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogra State Farm Insurance, Doreen Weeby Realtor Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the Advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure you follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to carry you. Are you in the market to buy or sell your home? Doreen Weeby, a realtor with Caldwell Banker M.M. Parish, will provide you with fast, friendly, and reliable services. Give her a call today, 352-562-1411, to help your dreams come true. I want to thank JC and my former teammate, George Rushing, for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. That's some dedication there, getting up for your old teammate's show at 5 a.m. I appreciate him doing that. We got a couple Facebook Lives here. Andy says, Shane, I think you hosted Danny for his recruiting visit, but who hosted you on your visit to Florida? Yes, I recruited Danny. I tell people that's the best thing I ever did as a Gator, to convince Danny to come. Kyle Morris was my host, one of my closest friends who's been battling cancer for the last 6-7 years and keeps fighting. And I appreciate him fighting because he's one of my closest friends. But Kyle was my host, and we had a good time, no doubt about it. Oh, so this is what that meant. Joseph, my bad. He goes, any more weekly word with wits, also known as WWW this season. We'll figure it out and get Trent on here, but I think y'all like that. We're going we'll talk to Trent. He did that basically in like an internship for his major, but we'll work on it. This Day in Sports brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Beat the summer heat and schedule your air conditioners. Tune up today, keeping you chill in the Florida heat far away. Comfort Temp Heating and Air calls today, 352-376-2366. This Day in Sports in 1994, the NBA draft, Purdue, small forward, Glenn the Big Dog Robinson was the first pick by the Milwaukee Bucks. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. I hope you guys enjoyed George Rushing. As I said, he's got a son who's just got on campus this summer. Cruz Rushing, big safety. And then for some reason, I thought his son Elijah was going to be a rising senior, but he's only a rising junior. But one of the most sought after defensive linemen in America. And it'll be cool to see both his boys wearing the Gator uniform, but we shall see. But George was one of the nicest, if you can say that, one of the nicest football players you ever be around. Really good football player. And I totally forgot he was in Coach Spurrier's first recruiting class. Came in with Aubrey Hill and that crew. So hope y'all enjoyed listening to George. We appreciate him getting up very, very early. Joseph says, I love George Rushing just because he got up at 5 a.m. to talk to all of us. Yeah, I told him that we could tape it. I thought Arizona, for some reason, was 2 hours behind us, but I'm not smart enough to figure out it's 3 hours behind us. But yes, we appreciate his time for sure. Yeah, just another note, just remember, I mentioned no more Wednesday shows until August the 17th. We still will have a show. It just won't be live. It's going to be the best of, for example, the best of the 80 Gators. So you'll have like clips of Kerwin, part of being on my show, clips of from the best clips from Ricky Nattil or Neil Anderson. And then we'll have like a Heisman show with Charlie Ward and Danny and Coach Spurrier. So you'll still want to tune in. It just won't be live, but it will be well done. And if you miss some of those shows in the past, it'll just be the best clips from it. Andy says, thanks. It's a very athletic family George has. Yeah, that's why I was kidding with him. I said his wife must, this was before the show. I said, your wife must be very athletic, George. I didn't realize his older daughter ran track here. His younger daughter can fly. And he's got two really good football players. So hope you enjoyed today's show, folks. We will be here tomorrow with Brent Beard talking college football, get his thoughts. I know the Phil Steele magazine came out. We'll see if Brent's gotten his and if there's any good information in there. But we're getting closer. I think it's less than 70 days now till college football cranks up, and can't wait. So have a great, great day out there, folks, and we will see you tomorrow.